Hey guys, this is my video essay by me, Chelsea Keister, and I will be discussing the movie Coraline and why instead of a family film, it should be considered a horror film. Now, let's begin with the opening scene, which is where somebody is making this doll, and I don't know about you, but this is absolutely terrifying, and this is the aftermath product, which we will get to, but this is what a doll making scene should look like. Not the monstrosity shown, but this is Coraline, the main character, and she is moving to a new town with her family, and she's having an awful time. She hates everything about it, and this is the Pink Palace Apartments, which is where she lives at, with her neighbors that are Miss Pink and Miss Forcible. We also have Mr. Babinski and Coraline's new friend, Wybie. So the story starts out with Coraline discovering this doll. May look familiar to anyone, in case you remember the beginning scene. But the doll leads her to a door, and with this door, it is locked. So Coraline has to find this key right here that has a button on it. So Coraline finds the door and opens it, which will eventually lead her into this parallel universe where she meets her other mother. Now, the other mother makes everything perfect. It's how Coraline wants everything to be, and everything is perfect, but the eyes. The eyes are terrifying, and Wybie is not supposed to be like this. So, the other mother has a request, which is for Coraline to button her eyes so they can live together. But Coraline says no, and the other mother gets upset about this and locks her up in a room, which is where Coraline meets the ghost children, who followed the other mother's idea and were lost forever. And in this scene, you also find out that they also lived in the Pink Palace Apartments, which creates a link to Coraline. And in order for them to escape from the other mother, Coraline has to use a seeing stone to find these three balls, which are the ghosts' real eyes. So when Coraline escapes the room and confronts the other mother is in this terrifying figure, and Coraline finds out that the other mother has taken her parents, and now she must also try and find them. And in this scene, you see that the other mother has these hands that are like needles, which goes back to this scene, which is the opening scene, which is where there is the doll being created. So this leads us to know that the doll was created by the other mother. Now, Coraline goes back to finding the is where she will encounter Miss Forcible and Miss Pink, where they have these hideous figures, and Mr. Babinski, where he is consumed by the rats and they all dissipate, and that is not how a children's villain should be. This is how a children's villain should be, but not this. Okay, so anyway, she goes back to looking for the balls, and once she captures them all, she encounters the other mother, and she tells her that she is going to free them, that everything is going to be okay, but the other mother tries to stop that plan and tries to attack her, but then her buttons are scratched out by this cat. And by the way, this cat is practically only there to help Coraline and scratch her eyes out, but since she is blind, she turns the room into a spider's web to try and find Coraline with her missing eyes, which is freaky. And she tries to attack Coraline, but eventually Coraline escapes and leaves the other world, but the other mother's hand manages to get out, and it escapes. Coraline is trying to throw away all traces of what she saw, and during that, the hand tried to pull her down a well, but it was successfully taken down by this rock that Wybie had thrown at it. So they throw all traces of everything down the well, and the three children are saved and are now at peace. And one of them ends up being Wybie's grandmother, who is still currently alive in present time, and everything is just happily ever after that. So if some of you are wondering, well, she told the story, but why should it be considered a horror film? It is because with the great amount of detail to the psychology of everything and how detailed they are with the visuals, especially with the other mother, and the concept behind that. It is not family friendly. It is indeed terrifying because it gets into your head, and the concept of wanting a better life, and when you finally get it, it's not as perfect as you think it is. That's all reality, and how this movie depicts it so realistically, even in a dark fantasy way. So, Mr. Barnhill, please let me pass your class. Thank you.